Okay, so let's just dive right in. There's one psychological trick that makes people think about you nonstop. And I mean, like, actually obsessed. And the craziest part is that most people who are good at this, they have no idea they're even using it.
Exactly. It's not what you think. It's not about being the best-looking person in the room. It's not about having, bulletproof confidence or being rich. It's something far more subtle and, frankly, way more powerful.
Totally. Like, you ever know someone who isn't like conventionally attractive or anything, but they just have this gravity. People just orbit them. They could be quiet, they could be a little weird, but everyone is just fascinated.
That's the perfect word. Gravity. It's this invisible pull. And today on the Behavior Code, we're going to deconstruct that pull. We're going to give it a name and show you step by step what it is, how it works, and how to use it. Or, at least how to recognize it. Think about certain historical figures, right? Or modern-day CEOs. They're not always the most charismatic in a traditional sense, but they command attention. People are drawn to their story, to their vision. They become iconic.
Welcome to the Behavior Code, everyone. Let's get into it. And it's not just famous people. Think about that one barista at your local coffee shop, the one with a line out the door, even when the place next door is empty. They're not just making coffee, they're making a connection, a moment. People aren't just there for the caffeine, they're there for the feeling. All right, so the core concept, the big idea behind all of this, is something we're calling emotional imprint. It sounds kind of technical, but the idea is actually super simple. People become obsessed with whoever makes them feel something intense.
That's a fantastic example. It's about creating an experience. The coffee is the medium, but the connection is the product. People will wait in line for a feeling they can't get anywhere else. It's a micro-obsession. That's the whole game right there. Because here's the secret. The brain doesn't actually get attached to people. Not really. It gets attached to emotional experiences. It gets attached to a feeling.
Right. It's like, think about your favorite song. You don't love it because of the specific musical notes on a page. You love it because of how it made you feel the first time you heard it. The memory, the rush, the vibe. People are the same way.
It's pure neurochemistry. When you have an intense emotional experience with someone, and intense doesn't just mean good, it can be excitement, confusion, deep comfort, even a little bit of anxiety. Your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline. These chemicals basically create a tag, an imprint, that links that powerful feeling directly to that person.
So your brain isn't saying, I miss Gabriel. It's saying, I miss that feeling of excitement and validation I get when I'm around Gabriel. Where can I get more of that? It's like the brain takes a snapshot of the feeling, and the person just happens to be in the photo. So whenever the brain wants to feel that way again, it pulls up that person's file. It's a survival mechanism, really. Our brains are designed to remember things that have a strong emotional charge, because those things are usually important for our survival.
Precisely. And that's why this is stronger than logic. You can have a list of pros and cons about someone. You can logically know they're not right for you. But if they've left a powerful emotional imprint on your brain will keep chasing that feeling, overriding all logic. It wants the chemical reward, right? It's why you can remember exactly where you were when you heard some shocking piece of news, but you can't remember what you had for breakfast yesterday. The emotional charge of the news story burned it into your memory. The same thing happens with people. They become the landmark for an emotional event.
This explains, like, almost every toxic relationship ever, right? People aren't addicted to the person, they're addicted to the emotional roller coaster that person provides.
It is a huge part of it. The highs are higher and the lows are lower, and that volatility creates a massive emotional imprint. So, the key to becoming magnetic is learning how to create a positive, powerful emotional imprint. And that brings us to our first trick.
Okay, so trick number one is the contrast effect. And this one it's a little counterintuitive. It's all about using unpredictability to create psychological hooks that people just can't shake.
Mhm. Our brains are prediction machines. They love patterns. They love knowing what's coming next because it feels safe. So when someone breaks that pattern, when they are warm and engaging one moment, and then a little distant or mysterious the next, the brain goes into overdrive.
It's like a question has been opened. Wait, I thought we had this great vibe. Did I do something wrong? Are they okay? What are they thinking? And suddenly, you're not just a person they know. You're a puzzle they need to solve.
And the brain starts chasing the answer to that puzzle. It replays conversations. It looks for clues. That person starts occupying a huge amount of mental real estate. They've created a story with an unknown ending, and we are biologically wired to need to know what happens next.
You see this in dating all the time. The person who texts back instantly for a day and then disappears for 6 hours, it's maddening, but it works because it creates that uncertainty.
Right. And on social media too. Creators who are really good at this will mix up their content. One day it's a hilarious, lighthearted video. The next, it's a deeply vulnerable, serious post. The contrast makes you feel like you don't fully know them, which makes you want to watch more to figure them out. It also works in professional settings. The boss who is usually very serious but then one day cracks a genuinely funny joke in a meeting, that moment stands out. It creates a new dimension to their personality. It makes them more human, more interesting, and people start paying more attention.
So it's not about being a jerk. It's about being multidimensional, showing different sides of your personality at different times, being playful and deep, serious and silly. That contrast is what creates the fascination.
It prevents you from being put in a box. Once someone can fully predict you, the mystery is gone. The chase is over. Contrast keeps the chase alive.
Which leads perfectly into trick number 2, selective attunement. This is maybe my favorite one because it feels really good when it's happening to you. It's about giving someone deep, profound attention, but crucially, not all the time.
Yes, this is so critical in our modern world. Most of the time, we're only getting, like 50% of anyone's attention? People are on their phones, they're distracted, they're thinking about their to-do list.
Right. So when you encounter someone who, for a few minutes, gives you 100% of their focus, who puts their phone away, makes eye contact, asks follow-up questions, and really listens, it's like a drug.
It's emotional oxygen. It validates our existence. People become obsessed with whoever makes them feel uniquely seen. When someone attunes to you, they're basically saying, out of everything I could be paying attention to right now, I choose you. What you are saying matters.
And the selective part is key here. If you give that deep attention to everyone all the time, it loses its value. It becomes your default, and it's not special anymore. It really is. And there's a flip side to this that's just as important. Think about how it feels when someone does it poorly. When they're looking over your shoulder at a party, or you can see their eyes glaze over because they're just waiting for their turn to speak. It's the opposite of emotional oxygen. It's emotional suffocation.
Right? It's the principle of scarcity. By being present and engaged in most conversations, but then reserving that intense, laser-focused attunement for certain people or moments, you make that attention a highly coveted reward.
People will start to subconsciously compete for it. They'll open up more. They'll be more engaging. They'll try to say things that they think will earn that focus from you. They're chasing the feeling of being truly seen by you.
So, the takeaway is, be a good listener to everyone, but be an exceptional listener to a select few. That selectivity is what makes the emotional imprint so deep and so addictive.
Okay, moving on to trick number 3, which builds on that idea of attunement. It's called emotional mirroring. This is something that incredibly charismatic people do, often without even realizing it. It's the practice of subtly reflecting someone's emotional state back to them.
Mm-hmm. And we're not just talking about body language, like crossing your arms when they cross theirs. We're talking about energy, pace, tone. If someone is telling you an exciting story, you don't respond in a flat, monotone voice. You match their energy. You lean in. Your voice gets a little higher.
Exactly. And if someone is sharing something vulnerable and serious, you slow down. Your tone becomes softer. You create a space of calm that matches their own. What this does, on a subconscious level, is send a powerful signal. I get you. I'm with you. We're on the same wavelength.
It creates the illusion of compatibility, instantly. The other person's brain doesn't register what you're doing consciously. It just feels this sense of rightness, of harmony. It feels like, wow, this person just understands me.
Think about the best conversationalists you know. They're like emotional chameleons. They can hype you up when you're celebrating, and they can be a calming presence when you're stressed. They meet you where you are. And there's a real art to this. If you get it wrong, it can be disastrous. If someone is telling you a sad story and you try to cheer them up with high energy, you're not mirroring. You're invalidating. You're basically saying, your emotion is wrong, feel my emotion instead.
And that builds rapport and trust faster than anything else. It bypasses the logical brain entirely and speaks directly to the emotional brain. The feeling they're left with is an overwhelming sense of connection to you. They might not even know why, but they'll walk away thinking, I really like talking to them.
It makes them feel safe and understood, which is a feeling they'll want to experience again and again. They'll seek you out for it.
Now, this next one, Maria, I think this is the most potent one.
Oh, 100%. This is the big one. Trick number 4, the dopamine loop. This is basically harnessing the power of intermittent reinforcement, which is the exact same psychological mechanism that drives addiction to slot machines, to social media, and to people.
It's powerful and a little bit dangerous. The principle is simple. Rewards that are delivered predictably are less exciting than rewards that are delivered unpredictably. If you knew you'd win $1 every single time you pulled a slot machine lever, you'd get bored fast. It's the chance of winning big, the not knowing, that keeps you pulling the lever.
And in human interaction, the reward is positive attention. It's validation, praise, warmth, that deep attunement we were talking about. When that attention comes unpredictably, the brain becomes hooked.
This combines the contrast effect with a reward system. One day you give them incredible praise. The next day you're a bit more reserved. You text them a really thoughtful message, and then you don't initiate contact for a few days.
And this is where we have to talk about ethics, right? Because this can be used to manipulate people. In its most toxic form, this is the cycle of abuse, a period of love bombing and intense validation followed by a period of withdrawal and silence. That cycle creates a powerful chemical bond that is incredibly hard to break. What this does is it makes the other person's brain start to crave the reward. They're not sure when the next hit of validation is coming, so they start thinking about you more. They check their phone more. They wonder what they can do or say to get that positive feedback again. You've essentially turned your attention into the jackpot.
And every time they do get that unpredictable reward, that surprise text, that sudden deep conversation, their brain gets a huge hit of dopamine, which reinforces the seeking behavior. It strengthens the loop. This is, without a doubt, the most powerful obsession trigger.
It's why the hot and cold dynamic is so incredibly potent in dating. The unpredictability creates a literal chemical addiction to the person providing the intermittent reward. It's intense stuff.
It is, and it has to be handled ethically. But understanding the mechanism is key to understanding human attachment.
Okay, let's move to a slightly more, wholesome trick. Trick number 5. Identity activation. This is a really beautiful one when you see it. People become obsessed with whoever activates a version of themselves they admire.
This is deep. It's not about how you make them feel about you. It's about how you make them feel about themselves. If you, through your words, your attention, or your example, make someone feel smarter, funnier, braver, or more creative, they will chase that feeling.
Totally. Think about a great mentor or teacher you had. You probably admired them, sure, but the real obsession came from the fact that when you were around them, you felt like a more capable, more intelligent version of yourself. You saw a glimpse of your own potential.
Yes. Or think about a crush you had when you were younger. Often, we're not attracted to the person themselves, but to the person we become around them. Maybe they make you feel more adventurous or more sophisticated. You're not chasing the person, you're chasing the version of yourself that they unlock.
This is the influencer model, too. We follow people who represent an identity we aspire to. The fitness guru makes us feel healthier just by watching them. The intellectual creator makes us feel smarter. They activate an identity we want more of. And this, too, has a dark side. Cult leaders are masters of this. They find people who feel lost or powerless, and they activate an identity of purpose, of belonging, of being chosen. The followers aren't addicted to the leader, they're addicted to the powerful feeling of identity that the leader provides.
So the practical application here is to shift your focus. Instead of trying to impress someone, try to empower them. See the best in them and reflect it back. Find their unique spark, their humor, their intelligence, their kindness, and put a spotlight on it.
When you make someone feel like their best self, they become addicted to your presence because your presence is the gateway to that incredible feeling.
It's a very generous way to be magnetic, actually.
It is. Okay, so our final trick, number 6, kind of ties everything together. It's the emotional safety plus mystery combo. And this is a paradox, but it's the holy grail of creating obsession. You have to be safe enough to trust, but mysterious enough to chase.
Yes. This combination is incredibly rare, and that's what makes it so irresistible. Most people lean too far one way or the other.
Right. You have the people who are all emotional safety. They're reliable, they're consistent, they're an open book, they're nice. And that's wonderful, but it can sometimes become predictable, boring even. There's no chase.
And then you have the other extreme, all mystery. The person who is unpredictable, aloof, emotionally unavailable. That might be exciting for a short time, but you can't build any real trust there. Eventually, it just becomes exhausting and feels unsafe. The brain gives up the chase.
But the person who can do both? That's magic. The emotional safety comes from being a good listener, from being non-judgmental, from showing genuine warmth and empathy. It's the feeling that someone can be vulnerable with you and you won't hurt them.
And the mystery comes from everything else we've talked about. It's the contrast. It's having your own life, your own passions, your own opinions. It's not being available 24/7. It's the sense that you have a rich, deep inner world that they haven't fully explored yet.
It's the blend. They feel safe enough to get close, but the mystery makes them want to get closer. They trust the connection, but they don't take your presence for granted. It's a perfect balance of comfort and excitement. So, how do you actually do that? A practical way to build mystery is to cultivate your own independent life, have hobbies that have nothing to do with the other person, have friends they don't know, have goals that are yours alone. The mystery isn't an act, it's a natural byproduct of being a whole person.
That balance keeps the emotional imprint fresh. It prevents the connection from stagnating. It is the core of long-term fascination.
So, as we wrap up these ideas, the big question is, why does this work so universally? Why does almost everyone respond to these triggers? And the answer is that these tricks aren't really tricks. They're targeted deliveries of what all humans fundamentally need.
Exactly. They tap directly into core psychological needs. Selective attunement and identity activation, that's our deep primal need for validation, to be seen and valued for who we are.
The contrast effect and the dopamine loop, that speaks to our need for novelty and excitement. Our brains are wired to seek out the new and the stimulating to avoid complacency.
And emotional mirroring and the safety mystery combo, that's about our need for emotional resonance and connection, the need to feel understood and to belong. Obsession in this context is just the brain desperately trying to recreate a powerful emotional state where these fundamental needs were met in a really intense way.
Which brings us to the self-defense part. How do you recognize when someone is using this on you, maybe in a manipulative way? I think the biggest sign is how you feel when you're away from them. Do you feel anxious? Are you constantly checking your phone? Does your mood for the entire day depend on whether or not you heard from them? From an evolutionary perspective, our survival as a species depended on our ability to form strong social bonds. Being seen, validated, and understood by the tribe meant you were safe. It meant you had access to resources and protection. So our brains evolved to be exquisitely sensitive to these cues.
That's a huge red flag. If your sense of self-worth feels tied to their unpredictable validation, you're likely caught in a dopamine loop. Healthy connections make you feel good about yourself, even when you're apart. Obsessive attachments make you feel empty without the other person.
So awareness is key. Understand these mechanisms not just to be more magnetic, but to protect your own peace. All right, we've covered a ton of ground, so let's boil it down to the big viral takeaways. The single most important thing to remember from this entire episode is this: people don't get obsessed with you. They get obsessed with how you make them feel.
That's it. It's never about you. It's about the emotional experience you create for them. So, master emotional imprinting and you become unforgettable.
That's the code. Focus on contrast, offering selective attention, mirroring their emotion, activating their best self, and balancing safety with mystery. That's the code.
And that is all the time we have for today on the Behavior Code. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope this gives you a new lens to see your own interactions through. Ultimately, the goal isn't to have people obsessed with you in an unhealthy way. The real goal is to forge connections that are so deep and resonant that they become a meaningful and memorable part of someone's life. It's about quality, not just intensity.
Absolutely. Join us next week where we are going to be tackling the procrastination paradox, why laziness is a myth, and what your brain is actually doing when you put things off. It is going to blow your mind.
You won't want to miss that one. Until then, stay curious.